Let me get myself sorted here. Pardon me while I get this. Let's see. All right. That should be good. And I need to get this up for my chat so I can see what's going on. And this is the Discord. All right. Hey, Spoopy, welcome in. I just got this out. This is the Old Fashioned Dragon by Stanley Morrison, charted by Paine Free Crafts. And when I was streaming on Twitch earlier, we kind of all decided, me and chat, that I'd do a rotation for the lives. So instead of trying to pick pieces myself, because that would take forever, I just spun the whip wheel and picked 20 whips. And I forgot that I didn't have the exclusive whips on there, so I'll have to add those on before the next spin. But I picked 20 whips that I'm going to rotate through for the YouTube lives for the rest of the year. So, and then we're going to reset it the beginning of the year and spin for another 20. And then reset every quarter. So you all will get to see progress on all of my whips eventually. I have the Absinthe Dragon and it's 7% done. Nice. I can't remember if I have the Absinthe or not. I have the Old Fashioned, obviously. I have the Pumpkin Dragon, which is not a drink dragon, but it's still Stanley Morrison. I have the Artichoke Dragon, the Garlic Dragon, which I've not started. The Manhattan Dragon. The Cherry Dragon. And I want to say something else, but I can't remember at the top of my head. I got a lot of dragons. It's fine. Oh, I have the hot chocolate, the coffee, and the tea dragons. And then I think that might be it. But don't quote me on that. I'm not quite sure. So y'all, have you heard the Thread Geeks stitchimigation? Hold on. What the hell did I just... Okay, so wait, I did this. You're wanting the apple dragon and the cherry dragon. I like... To be quite frank, there's not many that I don't like. I got the email this morning about the Thread Geek sadness. Are they just retiring the majority of their... Okay, so here's the thing. From what I've been able to find and what other people have been able to find, and please note that this is not like an actual announcement from the shop. It's just what myself and others have found. Everything that is being retired is artwork and artists that are not AI. So it seems like every artist that does not use AI is being retired. The 3 that I have been able to see that are left or will be left all use AI. Same with other people. That's what they've found, is the 3 that seem to not be retiring that we've found use AI. It is disappointing. So, and the statement that they made obviously doesn't mention anything like that. Mentions, that they want to work with a smaller collection for quality purposes and, because of health concerns, health issues. However, that could be very valid. Like, that could be part of the reason, and you know, that's valid. But like I was saying in my stream earlier on Twitch, hey Bandit, welcome in. That if that was 100% the only reason that you've had health reasons and you want to focus on a smaller collection, okay, everything that is being taken down has already been charted. It's not causing you more work to keep it up, right? So, like, if you wanted a smaller collection in the future for whatever valid reasons, right? Then don't chart as many pieces of artwork. Don't chart as many patterns in the future. And maybe, retire artists with more difficult licensing procedures, things like that, as the licenses come up for renewal and the contracts come up for renewal. but that's not what they're doing. It seems like they are just getting rid of everything that is not AI. Hey Maja, welcome in. I hope I'm saying that correctly. Exactly, don't take on as many licenses. But they're again, from what I've seen and from what others have seen, it seems like the only artists and patterns they are keeping are AI. It is. It is. I agree. I won't buy from them in the future if they're only keeping AI artists. Yeah. Like, again, that's what it seems to be, what they're doing. I personally am torn at the moment because if that is what they're doing, they're being very sketchy about it and very shady about it, right? Like, if that's what you're doing, then own up to it and say that's what you're doing. In my opinion. B, if I purchase things now, then I'm giving them my money in a very seemingly shady situation. C, I can also look at it as the artists are getting something at the moment while they still can. D, I can look at it as do I really need more charts? No, I don't. And maybe the artists or some of the artists will be picked up by other designers. But that's obviously not a given or a guarantee. So, it's kind of a difficult decision at the moment, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to any of those questions. You do what you do, and what you feel is, if there's a chart that you really want, I wouldn't risk hoping that it'll be charted by someone else. I mean, you just don't know. So I don't think that there's not a right or wrong for any of those questions. It's supporting the artist, but how much are they getting? Yeah, I don't know. And like, that's the other thing, is you don't know how much they get, what the royalties are per sale, if they, like, the one that got me before I kind of realized the AI thing, the one that got me was Jasmine Beckett Griffith. All of the charts from her are being retired. They're in the bunch to be retired. But what got me and what confused me before I realized the AI thing is that her charts are her artwork, is in the public domain. So anyone can get one of her pieces of art and do anything they want with it. You can put it on a mug, you can chart it into a cross stitch pattern, you can whatever, you can print it and make it a wall print. They're in the public domain. So I was really confused why those would be being taken down, because it does not cost them anything to acquire the artwork for those um patterns. Yeah, that's the thing, Bandit, is they might not go other places, and if they do, you can't guarantee that that particular piece of art that you wanted will be charted. Hey Sam, welcome in. I have so many I love so many Chris of Bugs charts, but I know I have so many patterns I can't live with that. Yeah. And that's the thing too. It's a personal decision, you know. I mean, you gotta, like I said, there's no right or wrong. It's whatever you are comfortable doing, and you whatever decision you make at the end of the day. You know. Did I just do? No, that's right. Wait, is it? Yes. There are a couple I might try to pick up. Yeah. I think there's some that I'm gonna get. But I'm going to be much more careful. That's not the right word. Um, I'm going to scrutinize more than I would have originally. No, I was going to ask for the cherry dragon care for. Yeah, yeah. The Paine Free is not shipping to the U.S. at the moment because of the tariffs. Which reminds me, I need to cancel my Crystal Club membership, because the whole point of having the membership is that you basically are you get a kit, you get a voucher for a kit, and if I can't get the kit, then there's really no point in having the Crystal Club membership. Selectively, yeah, exactly. That's what I was trying to say. I'm going to be very selective about the charts that I pick, more so than I would have been before I kind of noticed the AI thing. Although there are kids, I would definitely pay the extra $1 to get more, but it's understandable that it's, yeah, exactly. Like, and I think I think she's working on how to get it back so they can ship to the US again. But 100% understandable. I am failing with my thread today. I love the Paine Free Crafts kit. Paine Free Craft kits as well. They're very well put together. This is a kit. Ding. I just lost my spot doing that. There we are. This might be one I take to Dallas with me because it is a kit and the pattern is on my tablet. Is anyone working on anything at the moment? I don't really know how I'm stitching this, meaning how I'm going and where I'm going to go and how I'm going to get there. So I did a center start because I didn't want to do all the background, and normally I don't do center starts on full coverages, and this is why, because now I'm like, I don't have a good system for center starts, so I might try to do my 2x2 blocks and just pick a 2x2 block and start doing it and go from there. That might be the way. That might be the way forward. 23. Of course, these are all light colors. Working on your monochrome piece, but also window shopping. I hear you. Okay. I started up here in this square, so we'll just work from that again and do a 4x4. Guess I could do, okay. Not a 4x4. There's 4 blocks total, a 2x2. I think I'm going to try to go live here on YouTube every afternoon, my time, Eastern US time. At least during the weekdays. Probably not the weekend. Well, maybe some Saturdays, but at least the weekdays. But I'm not going to give like a set time because some days I can't do as late as others. Some days I can't do as early as others. Like I streamed later yesterday, but I can't do that today because I have to take child to ballet today. So it'll be a hopefully a longer stream than yesterday, but I can't go as late in the day. So obviously sometimes shit comes up and I won't be able to stream in the afternoon, and that's fine. I'll put an announcement in the Discord and here in the post tab just to be like, oh, you know, for whatever reason there's no live today. But other than that, I think you can expect to see me most weekday afternoon. Okay, wait, I'm doing 2x2 and I forgot already. But that's what I decided to do. Okay, so it's these, so okay. Friday I can't do, it will have to be an earlier live as well because I teach from 4 to 5 my time. Okay. We need a different parking color. No, that's not bright enough. That? That. Why is this so difficult? Green? Green. All right. 3371. Whoops. I think once I get this 4x4 block done, it'll be easier for me to keep track of where I am and on the pattern and on the whip. This is 28 count, 1/1 full cross. I do? Something's not. Hold on, something's not right. I'm very confused. Oh, because I put that in the wrong spot. Okay. Keep finding ones that I've done but have not marked off. Okay. You know what? We're going to park that one over here. Now, there was one that I saw, that one. Okay. Next color, 400. So I believe in about an hour and 15 minutes. So I'm going to end a little bit before that so that I have time to get my shoes on and get the car out and all that kind of stuff. I have to tell y'all, I will be very happy when child can drive himself. I'll probably be worried sick, but I'll also be quite happy when he can drive himself. Okay, this block. So, where am I? I'm over here. He's not really interested in driving, no. However, We have made it abundantly clear to him that it is a skill that he needs to learn how to do and that he needs to be comfortable doing. So that if he ever is in a situation where there's an emergency and the person who originally drove cannot drive, he can drive and he knows how to and he's comfortable doing it. And he's on board with that. He gets it. He understands. So it's a, you know, no, you don't have to drive everywhere if you don't want to, but you need to get your license. You need to know how to do it and be comfortable doing it. Because the last thing you want to be, do is be in a situation that's an emergency and you have to drive all of a sudden and you're not comfortable doing it and you panic, A, because of the emergency, and then B, because you're not quite sure or you're not quite comfortable. So, yeah. So he likely, when that happens, won't be driving himself every day to ballet, but at least enough that he maintains the knowledge and the comfort. I was the same way when I turned 16, no interest in driving, but I did anyway because I knew I needed. Yeah, like it's a skill that is good to have because, like I said, you never know when you're going to need it. And it's a skill to be comfortable with because, again, you never know when you're going to need it. But if you don't want to do it every day or use it every day, no, we're not going to force him to do that. But we are going to, and we have talked about this with him, that he still needs to get his license. He still needs to learn and be comfortable doing it. So driving enough himself to ballet or wherever he needs to go that he maintains that comfort with actually doing it. Because I don't want him to get scared of driving either and then be in a situation where he has to drive and he's terrified to do it. She is my ex-sister-in-law and I wish she would do this with her. She's just like, if you don't want to drive, I'm not going to make you learn. Yeah. I mean, like, I'm all about not forcing people to do things that they really don't want to do, obviously. However, I think there are certain things, skills that are good to know how to do. We also want to make sure he knows how to drive a manual. So that, again, if he's in a situation, let's say he's out with friends or something and something happens and the friend had a manual, at least know how to be able to drive it. Like any other of those basic life skills that if you have the means and ability to learn, you should, even if you choose. Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't have to, as you said, exercise it every day or often, just enough so you maintain it. It's like a language, right? Like a second language. Excuse me. No, you don't have to use it every day, but if you don't use it, then you're going to lose it. You're going to forget it. you're not going to be as proficient at it. So and hopefully a situation would never come up where there's an emergency and he has to, whoever drove originally is incapacitated for whatever reason and cannot drive, and he has to pick. Hopefully there will never be that, but you don't know. And I'd rather him, both Dar and I would rather him know and be able to handle the situation than not know and, you know. I waited way too long to get mine, and it was definitely scary the longer. Yeah, I feel like sort of with lots of things, right? Like children they don't have that. They're more willing to learn things. I want to say it's easier for them to learn, but they're more open and don't have sort of that fear of failure as much as adults do. Like I never learned to swim as a child, and now I am absolutely terrified. So I get it. Not to say I couldn't learn, it's just I'm terrified. So it would be a much bigger hurdle than it would have been. Though, oh my gosh, why am I getting it from my own? It's a kit. Jesus. I'm getting the floss from my own stash, and it's a bloody kit. All right. What do I need? 38.57. I was terrified of it when I was a child too, though. Like I distinctly remember my parents took me to swimming class at the local public pool, and it was like one of the first few lessons, and our task that we had to do was just to jump in the pool on the shallow end, the 3-foot end. And every other kid just jumped right the fuck in, and I was terrified. Absolutely terrified. And I tried and tried and tried, and I couldn't do it. And like the teacher really didn't help me either. They just kind of stood there. He just stood there and was like, kind of like, what the hell's wrong with you? So I eventually like sat on my bum and slid in the pool instead of jumping in. And instead of working with me and trying to help me, he went to my mom and just said that I failed and was incapable of learning. And that was that. So and then my dad, in his infinite wisdom, tried to teach me how to swim in the ocean. And we live on the East Coast, so we went to the Maryland beaches at the time. And there's waves, and I was small. This was before the swimming lessons. This actually might be where I got the fear and terror of actually doing it in the first place. This was before the swimming lessons. So I was maybe like 4, 5, and he tried to teach me how to swim in the ocean with the waves. And mind you, My dad was 6 foot tall. I'm 5 feet. So he could obviously go out a lot further. And I don't think he really quite got that. So that didn't go well. He should not have been. Yeah, he shouldn't have been. Like, obviously, clearly I was scared. Clearly I was terrified. You know, come and help me. Come and show me. Come and, like, just reassure me that I'm not going to die if I jump in the pool. Like, but no. It was basically like, well, everyone else clearly can do this. You can't. You're not worth my time, sort of situation. Like, I don't have time for you. Once knew an 80-year-old woman who was going to school to be a teacher. Oh, that's awesome. Good for her. There we are. What are you stuck on? Oh my god, I got a knot. Here we go. Let's try this again. Now I gotta find my spot again. That's there. Why can I continually not find the 2 squares I'm supposedly working on? Here. Wrong hole. Alright. 833. I actually quite like 833. So I forget what I spend for tomorrow. What I spun. What came up on the wheel for tomorrow? I'm curious now. Let me get my notebook. Ring of Power. Oh, that's exciting. Bandit knows this one. So that'll be tomorrow's project for the live. It's Ring of Power. I'm having such difficulty with this. There. And I will not work on solid 310 because you all don't need to watch me stitch solid pages of 310 during stream or during a live. That's a little excessively boring. I did work on it last weekend at the event for my candle business. Because then I took it because I could just take 310. I didn't have to take any other DMC, and I didn't have to think because there's the first is it the first 4 pages or the first 3 pages are all solid 310. So I'm kind of going back and forth between working on that and getting that like knocked off and then working on actual pattern. So tomorrow for the live, we'll go down back to where I'm on the map on the left side. And we'll work in on that. $8.38. Should have refilled my water before I went live, but I didn't think that far ahead. You're making me want to work on my dragon. Do it. I mean, he's not going to stitch himself. $3.72. I could take, so in December, I was talking about this in my Twitch stream this morning. We have a friend who lives in Dallas, and so we usually go there for 2 weeks in December. Dar takes off, child is off, and I just close my shop. Like, I put an announcement on my shop website that any orders that come through won't be shipped till we get back. And we usually drive down, but this year, because we couldn't stay with our friend before he had a loft, there wasn't room for all of us, so we would always drive instead of fly because it was cheaper and we couldn't afford plane tickets plus booking Xena plus the hotel for 2 weeks. So because there isn't I shouldn't say there isn't. It's not legal to have an Airbnb or things like that there anymore because of the housing situation. That's not to say that people don't do it under the table. However, we didn't want to deal with that, so we would get a hotel. But our friend just got a house, and so we can stay with him, which cuts off the cost of a hotel. So we're gonna we're gonna fly instead of driving. We're like 95% sure we're gonna fly because we can use our points, so it really won't cost us anything for the tickets. But I then can't take all my cross stitching stuff that I always would take, because we go down there for 2 weeks. Our child and our friend go to record shops. I stitch. That's all I do for 2 weeks. And eat. But now even eating isn't fun because of my IBS. So basically, I'm gonna just stitch and get enjoyment out of that. So I can't take all my stuff, so I have to be selective of what I take. I'm not going to take my laptop because that takes too much space. And I don't want to check any of my stitching, because I'll be damned if I'm going to, have them lose my luggage with my cross stitching in it that I've spent, hundreds and hundreds of hours on, and have it be lost. So I'm taking only my tablet, and only kits or smaller things that I can kit myself that might be on like a paper pattern or something. So the whole point of that story is that this might be one of the projects I take to Dallas. Because I also have to have a variety or I'll get bored. Hey, how are you, Tanya? Tanya is stitching the Blackberry Dragon, and it looks amazing. Last she was like 80% or something like that, last I remember. Great to catch up with you. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing now is instead of the pre-recorded videos with updates and all that crap, because it's not interactive, I feel like, I'm just shouting information at you all, which basically I am. But it's also stressful for me with the editing, and I don't do well. Like, I don't know. I just felt like this would be better for everyone involved. You could actually see me stitch. We can chat. You still get a variety of my WIBs. You get to see progress. And so we're going to do these instead of the videos. And then I'm still trying to decide how I want to handle finishes. I might do like a monthly at the end of the month. Either a short or something, like just show it at the beginning of a live stream or something. I don't know, to just show the finishes I got for that month. So there aren't going to be many. It's not going to be a long video. So that's why I was thinking maybe a short. $88.60, nice. 69% on Blackberry. Since you removed the back. Yeah. Oh, I just moved everything. Honestly, the backgrounds aren't necessary, especially if you do it on a nice fabric. I should go through and make sure I have snipped all the thread colors, but that would require me being smart about it. It's easier just, it is. Child's actually coming up and getting ready without me telling him to. Look at that. Oh wait, no, that's Star. Never mind. Yeah. Yeah. It's a little early for him to be getting ready, so that's why I was surprised. And then I realized it wasn't him, it was Dar. He doesn't have to start getting ready for ballet for another, technically 9 minutes, so. Teenagers, you know, what are you gonna do? Oh, Zena's getting up. I wanted to go for another half hour or so about, but Zena might have another plan. We'll see what she decides to do here. Oh my god. Yeah, the performance on the weekend was on grass, and it was, let me tell you, ma'am, no, hey, that's Zena scratching herself. Zena, hey, can we not sound like Thumper while I'm live and can't mute? This dog. Yeah, let me tell you, I was terrified for them. Like I said, last year they had sort of a makeshift stage, at least. But no, this year it was directly on the grass. And they went to do like pirouettes, like child had to do pirouette and some of the other girls had to do PK turns, the PK turns, and I could see them setting up for it. I've danced almost my whole life. I can't anymore. So I know, and I saw them setting up for it for the PK turns, and I was just like, oh my god, no, you're not doing that on this grass, like. But they did. Thankfully, no one fell. I think one girl, child slipped. Another girl, I think she almost fell, but she caught herself. But I was just waiting for someone to get to roll their ankle and ugh. I'm glad no one did. I'm glad everyone was fine, but it just seems like such a. I mean, the Nutcracker, they're already rehearsing for the Nutcracker. They have like so many shows prepared for that, like at the theater and then at other places. And it's just like, that's why would you risk them getting injured before that? You know what I mean? Or at all. First off, let me say, you shouldn't risk them getting injured at all. But especially when they're already, you have them and you're banking on having them for their roles for the Nutcracker, from a purely, quote, business standpoint. I need to text Star a second. Whose insurance pays if someone is seriously hurt? Yeah, the parents would pay. Uh, we have to sign a waiver that they're not responsible. There are so many waivers we have to sign. It's ridiculous. Just did ballet for years. She only did shows and halls. Yeah. It's just not safe. Like, I showed up and I was telling Dar, I said, well, they must have moved where they're going to perform because there's no stage here. There's nothing for them to dance on. And boy, was I wrong. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And to me, it's, if you can't afford it or don't want to pay for it because it is a fundraiser situation, right? In theory, then don't do it. It's pretty simple. That's a lot of kids. And, you know, some of them were like 3, 4. Granted, most of them just kind of stood there and looked shell shocked. But still, you're putting a lot of kids' safety at risk for doing that. Exactly. Like, the boys' tuition are free. The boys' tuition is free, I should say, proper. But you know, there's like 4 boys that go to the whole school, and they do that as a way to get boys. Um, but you know, it's not, the tuition is not cheap, and they're a God, what's the word I'm looking for? Nonprofit. So they can get donations and, you know, all that kind of stuff too. So they get the tuition, plus they get all the donations from the benefactors, and they get sponsorships from businesses, and here, boys and girls pay. Yeah, this is the only school in the area that the boys don't pay. Um, and at this school they have never paid. Like, even when I was growing up, the school was here, and boys' tuition has always been free there. Um, but not for the summer intensive. Boys, we still have to pay for that. But the school year itself is tuition free for the boys. The other 2 good schools in the area, there's like 3 good schools in the area, and you know, there's sort of a competition between the 3 of them. There always has been, and there always will be. But the other 2 schools, the boys pay, and I taught at one of them for a number of years, and it's expensive. Like, I didn't get a discount or anything on his tuition, and it was expensive. Not gonna lie. And he doesn't need, you know, point shoes and all that kind of stuff like that. And you can go through point shoes depending on how much you dance on them and how quickly you go through the, I mean, last time I bought a pair of point shoes, and mind you, this was years ago. What is it, 2025? Probably the last time I bought a pair of point shoes was 2018? Question mark? 2017, 2018. And the pair that the brand and shoe that I liked was $70, and that was 7-8 years ago. Oh, that one's done. The ones I liked before that were $90 each, $90 a pair, but they were discontinued. So then I had to find another pair. Gainers are even more expensive. Gainers are like 100 something, 100. Again, I'm going off of seven, 8 years ago. 110-ish. Just went through 4 pairs of point shoes. It sucked. I think yours were 120 each. Yeah. Yeah, I would go through probably in my prime, I would probably go through trying to think. 6 pairs a year, 7 pairs a year. And professionals, you know, can wear through a pair of point shoes in a performance. Obviously, they have their companies will. It's usually in their contracts is the companies will pay for their shoes. But she gave up and went into figure skating. It wasn't any cheaper. I would imagine the skates and the costumes. Like, do you pay for their own costumes? Like, at least with the ballet, the costumes are usually depends on the studio. But the costumes are provided. Like, you don't have to pay. But I want to say that probably figure skating, you'd have to pay for your own costumes. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. She didn't go that far, thank goodness. Fair. You're like, thank God. I'd imagine that those costumes are not cheap either. You had to pay for the costumes for ballet? Oh, wow. Here, it's, and again, this is just from my area and the schools that I know of in this area. Seeing a child. For like major performance, so like for the Nutcracker, for let's say they do, I don't know, any other ballet, right? The studio has costumes that the students are fitted into, and you know, like a company would have, right? Some here for the end of the year show, like that's a thing here. I don't know if that's the thing where you are, but usually like every June-ish, the schools have like a big like end of year performance with all the levels perform a piece. And some of the schools use costumes that they have for that, and again fit out the students. Some have the children or have the students pay for the costumes, and then that costume is theirs to take home. So it depends on the school. The school I taught at had everything. The costumes were all the schools, and they were just fitted for whatever piece they were doing. If a teacher wanted something that they like that didn't wanted a costume that the school didn't already have, the school would pay for it, but buy them in multiple sizes, an extra for the future. But then that would be the schools, so it was like investing in their own stuff. The school I danced in when I was growing up is no longer here. That was half and half. That was the Nutcracker. They had, oh wait, no, I did that one. The studio had costumes that we were fitted in, and then for the end of the year show, for the June show, we would pay for our own. So it just depends on the school. And again, that's just my area, so you know, I don't know what it's like in other areas. Expensive. And then what do you do with them? Like, Jesus, I still have, like, I finally a couple years ago got rid of all my, I was saving them, and I was like, what the hell am I saving these for? Like, I'm obviously not going to fit into these ever again. And even if I could, what would I do with them? Like, where would I wear them? You know. So you just have all the, like, I donated them to Goodwill or whatever. Like, maybe somebody can use it for something. I don't know. Like, what do you do with them? They just sit there in the closet. That's why I like, you know, I like the schools. Like, this child's now. Now he is, I think it might be because he's a boy. They tend to get his costume. Like, we've not had to buy a costume for him. The girls, especially the younger ones, where they just want to, they're there to basically look cute, you know, the ones who are 3, they might buy those, but I don't think they do. I think they just have so many that they've built up over the years in their wardrobe, which I think is the way to do it. Because again, like, the hell do you do with all these costumes you bought? We've donated to the preschool for dress up. Yeah. Like, I just donated mine to Goodwill, I think. Like, I was saving them, and I was like, oh, this was my first costume when I was on point. My first point, you know, when I was like 10 or whatever. You know, my first point performance and my first tutu, and this was my this, and this was my that. And then I was like, obviously, like, what the hell? Why am I saving this? It's in a closet. I'm obviously not going to fit into something that from when I was 10. Nor am I going to fit into something from when I was 20. So, like, let's be realistic. There's only so many Halloween costumes you can get out of them. You know what I mean? Like, you can't keep everything exactly. And my mom was a hoarder, so it was hard for me to, because she would save them, right? So she would save things because of whatever XYZ reasoning, right? So then I kind of started, that's what I was doing with my ballet stuff. I had all my point shoes, all of my point shoes from the very first time I went on point. All of them. And I was like, what? Like, they're like stinky, they're mildewy, they're like, why am I saving these? So I just ended up throwing them out. Like, but again, it's that, but this was my first pair, and this, you know, it was sort of that mentality of, but you can't get rid of that because that was for this thing, and that was for this thing, and this was your first nutcracker thing, and this was your first, you know. So now I'm a bit too far on the getting rid of stuff scale. I'm a bit too far the other way. My mom was a hoarder. I'm like, get rid of it. Now I'm like, we don't need this. Let's get rid of it. Throw it away. Donate it. Get rid of it. We haven't used this. Get rid of it. And Dar's sort of the reasoning in the middle. he's the one that kind of keeps it in check of, yes, we can't be like your mom. That was not good. But also, let's not get rid of everything. Like, you know, he's my voice of reason. Because I will just go through and be like, get rid of it, get rid of it, get rid of it. Like, I just, yeah. All right, I'm going to finish this color in this 2x2 block, and then we're going to end so I can get my shoes on and get the car out and everything to get Child to ballet. We cleaned out a lot. So we live in this is my parents' house. Both my parents have died, and I'm an only child. So my dad died in 95, and then my mom died about 15 years ago. But when we got the house from her, she was a hoarder. So you couldn't walk in the garage. You couldn't walk in the basement. Like, literally, floor to ceiling to the rafters was full of stuff in the basement. The tubs floor to ceiling were full. Like the bathtubs, the bedrooms were full. Like, so it took us so many years to clean out stuff. And then mind you, at the same time, while we're doing that, we're also getting our own things, right? It's just, it was a mess. It was, I don't ever want to do that again. Yeah, it was like, when I say she was a hoarder, I'm not like using the term like I'm using it legitimately. So that really, yeah. And because I was living with it before we got married, right? So um, it kind of slowly happened after my dad died, and then just built up and built up and built up. So I was living with that, and I um, was just like, no, I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to do this. You know, she didn't hoard like a lot of the ones, yeah, like a lot of the ones you see on TV, they hoard like trash or what, you know, to other people is considered trash. Um, she didn't do that. She hoarded, like, she would go and she did, okay, that's a lie. She did hoard some trash, like styrofoam or like paper to wrap like brown paper to wrap things, or you know, stuff like bubble wrap, because you don't know when you might need that, right? But she hoarded a lot of like new things. She would go to like secondhand shops or whatever, not secondhand shop, like discount shops, and get new things, but that they were really cheap. So like clothing that still had tags on, and all kinds of stuff like shoes, candles that she wouldn't burn, like just, yeah. So that's what she would hoard. And so it wasn't like dirty, but it was just a lot of stuff, and it got to the point where she couldn't take care of the house because of all the stuff. So there had been a flood in the back room, and the carpet was moldy and stuff because she couldn't get to the carpet because the room itself was completely full of stuff. Um, so it wasn't like there weren't rats and things, like, you know, like when you watch the ones on the TV and there's like it's a health hazard. There wasn't necessarily that, aside from the back room. It was just mostly the amount of stuff. But yeah. Oh my god, I don't need my own floss. It is a kit. With that being said, I'm gonna go and take Child to ballet. So I hope you all had a good time. I got almost this 4x4 done. And we'll be back tomorrow with some Ring of Power. See you then, guys.